We have a special guest who's no stranger to this town, you guys. We do have Jose Antonio Vargas joining us. Going to talk about the Define American Film Festival here in a couple of seconds. But you're no stranger to this town. We were just chatting off camera that you've been here before.
Yeah, I was covering the 2008 caucus for the Washington Post, and I was the only single reporter who wasn't married, so they sent me here for like a good month and a half. I think you have 99 counties, and I've been to every single one of them.
Well, you've outdone me. I've lived here my whole life, and I haven't done that.
You've done the full Grassley.
John Edwards, remember John Edwards?
Oh yeah,
I rode a bike with him on Ragbri for a little bit.
Yeah, so that was my. But as you can imagine, I was here, as a journalist for the Washington Post, and I was undocumented. I didn't have papers.
Oh.
So driving around Iowa during the snow was very nerve-wracking.
And it's nerve-wracking anyway.
And then 3 years after that, I outed myself as undocumented in the New York Times Magazine and kind of dared the government to do what they were going to do, which was nothing. They decided to not deport me, and while the Obama administration has deported more than 2 million people in the past 7 years. And our goal with this film festival is to try to really humanize, an incredibly political and partisan issue. Which, Donald Trump has said so himself. He was the one that brought illegal immigration back to the center of the conversation. And so we're here. We're actually one of the films we're showing at the film festival. It's DefineAmericanFilmFest.com. Tickets are free, but you have to reserve your tickets.
Got it.
One of the films we're showing is a documentary called The Muslims Are Coming. This is a film called The Better Life that you're seeing right now. We're opening with this film. Damon Bashir, who was nominated for an Oscar for this, and Chris Weitz, the director, are actually going to be in town on Thursday night.
Really?
Yeah, they're flying in from LA just to open the film festival. The Joy Luck Club, which is a groundbreaking film about Asian Americans. And we're showing this, The Muslims Are Coming. It's Muslim American comedians going all across the South talking to people about being Muslim.
Wait a minute, there are Muslim American comedians?
Yes. There's actually quite a few of them. And yeah, so we're showing that, if you are curious, please, we're going to be at the Des Moines Art Center, and again, it's free. Now, look, we could have done this film festival in Chicago or in New York or Los Angeles, right?
So why'd you pick here?
This is ground zero for the political conversation. And again, when it comes to this issue, I would argue that immigration is the most controversial yet least understood issue in America. And I think many of these political candidates have really kind of taken advantage of that, right?
So Rick Santorum yesterday compared illegal immigration to not paying your taxes, and that it has to be, for lack of a better word, regulated. And I was thinking taxes and people that come to the country, work, live, have families. I was having trouble seeing the parallel. Does something like that really irk you?
Well, this is Rick Santorum. He's been an elected official for how many years? Doesn't he know how the IRS works? Like, I've been paying taxes since I was 18 years old. I should be a Republican. I've paid so much taxes.
And that's the perception that immigrants don't pay taxes.
Like, again, right now, as you're listening to Google ITIN, I-T-I-N, that is how undocumented workers pay taxes. Now, the IRS seems to know where I am.
They find you.
To get your, tax money.
But ICE and DHS can't figure out exactly what to do with us. When I hear something like that in Social Security, undocumented workers in this country, and by the way, there's about 40,000 undocumented people in the state of Iowa, about 30,000 undocumented workers in the state of Iowa. According to the Social Security Administration, we have contributed about $100 billion into the fund in the past decade. This is according to the Social Security Administration. Now, mind you, we can't get any of that back, right? Because now, how can the Social Administration know that and not the presidential candidates? How's that possible?
And it remains illegal. What do we do to change the law? If the law is there, it should be enforced. If it's not working, it should be altered.
Well, I think this is where Define American, we're nonpartisan. We are about trying to understand this issue in the most human possible level. I would argue that we are where we are with this issue. There's no compromise, right? We don't see reform. You have Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio running away, right? They can't seem to make up their minds exactly what their positions are.
Or they vote one way, then vote another, then vote one way,
exactly,
then vote another.
Right? Marco Rubio supported the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Bill in 2000, and 2012, 2010, 2012, right? And where is he now when it comes to that? I would argue that in this issue, we have not changed the culture. in how we talk about it and how we even look at people, right? I mean, you have a lot of candidates calling us like illegals, as if we're insects off their backs. So that's why coming here, showing 6 films, 6 documentaries for free. Any Iowan can come, right? But again, you have to reserve your tickets.
But again, you have to reserve your
You have to reserve your tickets, because you know some of the films are sold out.
Right.
But no, I cannot think of a more important place than to be in Iowa and to be in Des Moines to do this film festival. That's why we're here.
I've forgotten every question I was going to ask, but the fact remains that, and we all understand why people come here. Certainly, if I had children in the situation that some of these people have, I would come here too. The fact remains that the first thing they do when they set foot on American soil is break a law.
Yeah.
How do we?
For me, the question is why people come, and I'm so glad you brought that up, right? Like, for example, we're really kind of conflating refugees with immigrants. Like the Central American refugees, right? I mean, journalists, we do this a lot. Like, why is it that the Syrian refugees get to be refugees and the Central American refugees are called a bunch of illegal immigrants? Why are they coming here, right? Like, what happened to Central America? Like, who started the war on drugs? Like, why is it that El Salvador and Guatemala is as violent as it is? Like, who gave them the guns? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we are somewhat culpable.
Yeah. Right.
That, and so it's really, look, I outed myself as undocumented because I do respect American law. I said, look, I'm here. What do you want to do with me? Right? I've been here since I was 12. It's more than 22 years. I haven't seen my mother since I was 12. She's on a 16-year waiting list to come here, which is the case when you're from the Philippines or Guatemala or India. So there's, again, you guys talked about the Supreme Court taking the case. So right now, my being able to see my mother is going to depend on what the Supreme Court ends up ruling by taking this case. So I agree with you that the law is broken. The fact that I am here, right? I am here illegally without authorization. Now the question then again is, how do we do this? What do we want to do? And when people say that the country is overpopulated, Iowa doesn't seem all that overpopulated to me. Have you been to Montana? Like, you know, at the end of the day, immigrants in this country, like the Dutch and the Irish and the German immigrants that populated Iowa, we're the ones that make this country great. We're the ones that start businesses, right? I mean, that's why you go to Marshalltown, for example. Marshalltown has been remade by immigrants starting businesses, right? And so, to me, it's a question that we really have to ask not only the politicians, but the American public.
Rachel, this segment's going long. One of Senator Santorum's allegations yesterday was that this influx of immigrants has driven wages down, and that's why middle-class wages have stayed flat forever.
So we are a country addicted to cheap labor, right? Like, we put a sign outside of the U.S.-Mexico border that says, keep out, and then 10 yards in, what do we say? Help wanted. So why is it that you blame the workers when really what we should be doing is looking at the employers?
And I think it's been proven many times that this economy does not work
without that. But I mean, but here's the
labor.
big question too. When Santorum and a lot of the candidates say this, actually, according to Border Patrol, there's actually net migration. There's more people going to Mexico than coming to the United States. So the surge and the increase is actually factually incorrect. And yet, they just say this, as if we're all just like, by the way, I'm from the Philippines, so I didn't cross a border to come here. I was on a plane. 40% of the people here illegally actually overstayed their visa. They didn't cross a border. So why is, what's the obsession with the border?
What do we do? I mean, we live in an age now, and you could say the cliche since 2001, where we have to know who's coming.
I completely agree with you.
So what do we do, you know?
But isn't it crazy, though, that we have no idea? Like, wouldn't you want to know who these 11 million undocumented people are? Wouldn't you want them to, especially the ones who have been here since they were kids, right? Like, wouldn't we want to know? If we really care about national security, why can't we actually come up with a compromise to figure out how we're going to bring these people to the shadows? I'm really proud, actually, for the festival. I came here 3 months ago, and we filmed undocumented immigrants in Marshalltown. So we start the festival with a short documentary called Undocumented Iowa.
Brings
just
it right
to
home.
kind of brings it right home, right? So that opens the festival, and then we show like six feature films and 6 short documentaries.
All right.
And another allegation has been, and I'm sorry to extend this, but this is really interesting to me, that, and you touched on this at the beginning, that when these immigrants come in, wherever they're from, and I think people from Central America and Mexico get picked on the most.
Yes.
But that as soon as they come here, they're taking money, be it from educating their children or through health care, that they're sucking money out of the system.
Which isn't, I mean, so I'm here and documented, I'm not eligible for health care. I don't know where this started. Like, how do you, what papers do I show to get, I can't apply for Obamacare. By the way, as an undocumented person, I can actually start a business. Check this out. I can start a business, I can employ people, but I can't be employed.
But if you show up, to be fair, at an ER, they are going to treat you.
But I have to pay for it. Like, I showed up in the ER in Los Angeles a couple of years ago because of my eye. I had to pay $7,000 out of my pocket to pay for that. And I did.
But
gladly.
some people don't have any money.
Well, but that's again, but for me though, especially the undocumented Iowans who are here, they're all working, right? Like, have you seen an undocumented homeless person?
Oh no, most of them work much harder than most of us.
But I mean, I don't want to get into this. I mean, I think this is what a lot of candidates are feeding into, that, you know, we don't want to say that the American worker doesn't work hard. Of course the American worker works hard. I don't want to be in competition with the American worker. But what we should be doing is looking at the employers who are the ones exploiting all of this. Why don't we ever talk about that?
Yeah.
Right?
Lots of discussion on this now.
Thank you so much.
The Define American Film Festival. Tell everybody where and when.
Des Moines Arts Center starts tomorrow night. You can check the tickets right there on defineamericanfilmfest.com. Please check it out.
And again, you do need your tickets. You just need to get them. They don't cost anything, but you need.
And I'll be there. If you have any questions about immigration, if you want to talk, I'll be right there. I'll be as polite and civil as possible, which is what is so lacking in politics these days.
Nice to see you, man.
Thank
you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Jose. That was great.